How do you find your value for what you're doing? You're in the coffee industry, you're into community, ladies or women. How do you find value? How do you measure value for that?
I think it's being able to, at the end of the day, and being able to look back and say, was I responsible with the time that I've been given? Because I feel like, in life we're given X amount of time, and each day I'm withdrawing from this bank account. So when I'm analyzing myself, I say, did I spend my time well today? I mean, of course, some days I am not responsible. I will spend a little longer than I should on Instagram, you know. But then there are some days when I look back and I say, you know what? I spent, like this morning, I had a meeting, and then the one of the ladies who sews for us from the police camp came and sat with me, and we ended up talking for about half an hour. And when I look back, I'm like, one could say, oh, you know what? I could have made money during that time. But just sitting and listening that she's a mother, I'm a mother, and we were comparing notes and we were sharing life's journey. For me, that's value. I learned from her, she learned from me. We were exchanging, recipes, exchanging notes and things. It was fascinating. So value for me is, was I a good steward of the time that I had today? Was I punctual? Did I really do what I needed to do in the 24 hours I had, including going to bed on time? Because sometimes it's easy, to get home and suddenly you lie there and you're like, flick, and you're looking at things. And nowadays,
it's really, really hard keeping that discipline.
Yes. So nowadays, even sleep is a commodity. It's like a real thing. You don't get enough sleep, you're not going to be able to get value from your day. So, yeah.
You talked about money and like how you withdraw money. Like, okay, you're living, but every day you have to, keep cash moving because it's an essence in life. How has money really affected how people should follow their value? I mean, how should people follow their purpose in life? Like, in most cases, we tend to have different directions. Someone is going to come up with a big chunk of money and is saying, I'm giving you this opportunity. Are you gonna take it? And you think twice. You're like, okay, should I go with this opportunity or should I just leave this opportunity? But it has money. So does money really affect the way how people choose their purposes in life, like in real life? Besides, because me, I'm gonna come out here and say, no, I can't go with this money. But when you're looking at it, you take the money, and then at the end of the day, you realize, no, this wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
And then you pull back, and already that's time wasted. So, what's the impact of money in really choosing your purpose in life?
I think money plays an important role. That's a reality, because you need to sustain yourself, you need to put food on the table. And I think depending on where one is in life, you do want to ensure that you've covered your back, you've covered the bases. So, and again, I think things are seasonal. If one can say to oneself, okay, this is the money I have, it's a season, and let me be smart, let me be strategic, so that in this season of where I'm getting this money that's X amount and, surplus, I need to be focusing on putting in the time to say, what am I passionate about and how am I now investing in that thing? Because it's easy to get comfortable with money. You know what I'm saying? You can settle, you can get so comfortable with a nice fat salary, and then comes with then you say, oh, a nice car, and then, oh, I'm renting or I'm staying in this nice house, and you know what? I think I'll stay here longer. And then before you know it, years have gone by. But if you can keep one eye on the goal and say, you know what, I want to invest. I'm not enjoying this money season, but I know I need to put food on the table. I need to invest. So for X amount of time, I will be disciplined and I will make the necessary sacrifices once I've covered the bases. So money is a means to an end, I believe.
So would you say that really money is a very, very key aspect in choosing the direction you're taking in life, really?
Partly. It is.
Because why I'm saying this actually is we have very many people who have like graduated from universities, and they're totally in different, areas of or spheres of life from what they did, and that was time they took. So it's because maybe after graduating and they're realizing that what I studied isn't something that I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's not something that can sustain my life.
Yeah.
So how can someone really choose and say, I'm going to take this direction and my purpose is going to be in this direction, rather than realizing later on that, okay, I've been in a wrong space and now I should start doing this. And yet you've wasted a lot of time. Yeah.
I think it's the reality is that many people, many of us, myself included, will probably end up not doing the career that you went to school for. And the reason being is I feel like life kind of forces you into making decisions that sometimes you just have no choice.
Would you say really like it's not you who chooses the purpose chooses you?
Yes and no. I think, like I said earlier, some people are just so lucky that purpose chooses them and it's automatic. But sometimes you can imagine someone is now 18. You're told, okay, go and apply and study something. And sometimes at 18, you don't even know what you want to do in life. Sometimes at 18, you don't know whether, 10 years from now, whether you'll still be feeling the same, whether you'll still be impressed by the same things. And you go in and you do this thing. So again, it's a very difficult situation in that you may find many people will be telling you, oh, I studied, I was an accountant, now I'm in the tourism industry. Or I was in the hospitality industry, now I'm a banker. Because I think that, again, if once you start, you're doing the cover the basis season, you're putting food on the table, one should allow oneself to say, okay, I'm stuck as an accountant, or this is not where I want to be an architect, or I want to be doing interior design, and allow oneself to then, it's not that easy because once the children come and the responsibilities come, you could be stuck for a very long time. A very, very long time. And then it means you're taking more sacrifices. Yeah, so it's not easy. I mean, honestly, especially some universities like where if you're going to study chemistry, you will study chemistry and there's no way out. So it's great if you have a chance to say, okay, explore for the first 2 years and then see what happens. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like in life, if you decide to do something, I would say like really go for it. If you feel like your guts are telling you to go for it, go for it.
Yeah.
How did you get into the coffee industry? You talked about coffee earlier.
Yes, so my husband moved here in 2016. And I remember I was really annoyed because I was not ready to move again. Because since we I've been married, we've moved countries. I've lived in various countries. I've lived in Kenya, I've lived in Rwanda, I've lived in South Africa, I've lived in Eswatini, and so now we had just moved back to Zimbabwe, and now I'm starting to unpack all these wonderful things I've learned and putting them into practice and setting up a business. And then my husband says, no, we have to move to Uganda. Anyway, long story short, I said, okay, I'm only coming because I want to find out about the coffee industry because I want to open up a coffee shop in Zimbabwe. So when I came here, I started looking around and said, okay, which coffee shop is here that I could say, do you want to come and open up a shop in Zimbabwe? Because I thought, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. What do I know about coffee? So guess who I met first? Gloria.
Okay.
Yeah, from Indiro. And so a friend of mine in Zimbabwe is Ugandan. And so she said to me, hey, you need to go and visit Indiro. And I know the lady there, the owner, and she can give you advice. And she was gracious. She spoke to me, gave me advice. So I said, okay, can you come and open Indiro in Zimbabwe? And she said, it's not that simple. So anyway, she encouraged me to learn about coffee. So I said, okay, now what do I learn? Okay, let me be a barista so that at least I know how to make the coffee in case I don't have someone to work with me. And so I registered to become a barista. First thing I did was, I went through the motions, finished my course, did my first stint at Indiro. We opened up Muyenga at the restaurant there, Yamasen. Yeah. And from there, I think after I worked some time there, opened up, got the stuff going and everything, it was like, okay, what next? And then I heard about this basic quality control course at UCDA. I joined, and it was a fantastic time of learning. There I learned everything from cupping and we're starting at the bottom. Again, this is where you're like, if you want to find your purpose, you have to have a lot of humility. So did that. I was with people half my age, some who were just there because they were sent or not quite sure why they want to be there. But I knew that at this point, I knew this is where I want to be. So I put in the hours, and even after the course ended, I asked if I could just continue volunteering, setting up the cupping tables, drinking a lot of Robusta, some good and not so good, amazing Arabicas, also some good, not so good. And then I thought, what next? And then I heard about this Q grader course in Nairobi. At that point, I had no idea what it's about, so I registered, went and did that. And when I got there, I got the shock of my life to find out that it is such a difficult, challenging course. That surprisingly, because I had so much experience from UCDA, I then managed to get my Q grader license. And that's how I got into the coffee industry.
How is it going now?
It's been an incredible journey. It really has. I mean, the vision has grown from opening up one coffee shop, a little coffee shop in Zimbabwe, so that...
Oh, we have a coffee shop in Zimbabwe?
Not yet. It's still waiting. I thought it will come soon, because I thought I'm only here. When my husband said we're moving there, I said, I'm only here for a while, 1 year, then find someone to come open up a coffee shop in Zimbabwe, and then I'm good. But here's the thing that surprised me when I came to Uganda and started learning about coffee. I was just so shocked on so many levels. So I personally didn't drink coffee before. I was one of those who had these misconceptions about coffee, that, it's unhealthy for you and, it's bad for my body and so on. But I started feeling the effects of when I got into the coffee industry, started drinking coffee, and how it really had a positive impact on my health, mentally especially. But what really surprised me was how come I never knew about Uganda and Uganda's incredible coffee heritage? It just baffled me. I said, I know Kenya. We always hear about Ethiopia. We know even about Rwanda, but Uganda is nowhere near the radar. And then when I started learning about Uganda's incredible history and Uganda's place in the coffee global industry, I was gobsmacked. And then Uganda's the world's 8th biggest coffee producer, and it's Africa's number 1, because even though Ethiopia produces so much coffee, they're consuming 50%, and we are not consuming that much. It was just all these things that bugged me. And even in 2020, when Uganda got the 3rd best global taste coffee, and I'm like, this is just puzzling. Why? And so I actually had this, at some point I even got angry. I said, why am I in this incredible coffee country and I can't get a decent cup of coffee? If I'm driving from here to Gulu or Mbarara, I can't even get a cup of coffee. Why is it when I come to Uganda, I'm not seeing anything about you are now in coffee country? Why am I not seeing, like how it is, being there, bought the t-shirt, people are talking about Waraji, people are talking about Rolex, but no one is saying anything about coffee. And why am I going to conferences, including government conferences, and drinking instant coffee, Nescafe? At some point I was so enraged. I was really, really upset. I said, this is not making sense. Why are we letting this wealth flow out of our fingers as Africans? And so my call to action is I'm going to start doing coffee experience classes, where it's a little class that's full of information about incredible coffee history, including the health benefits, including just a basic coffee experience where the person leaving has a different perspective and appreciates what coffee is about. And all those misconceptions about, coffee will give you cancer, because coffee's had a bad rap, and it's been the poster child of caffeine, and yet, tea also has caffeine, and so does dark chocolate, and so does green tea, and so does Coca-Cola, and all these energy drinks, where we let's compare apples with apples, and let's separate facts from fiction and pseudoscience. So for me, it's been more than just okay, I'm in here to make the money, and yes, I do need to sustain myself, but I think with this passion and purpose that I have concerning the coffee industry, I really feel like I've had opportunities now. We recently opened up a coffee shop, which I believe is the best priced coffee shop in Kampala, with good quality coffee. And the way I set up this coffee shop was such that the person in this, we have, where our coffee shop is, you can actually have you can have a border. The border man can come in and he can get a cup of coffee and sit in a nice environment and be treated with dignity and respect and not feel like he doesn't belong. So whether you're an executive or a border or border man, or whether you are a lady sewing or beading in the market, or whether you are a high-flying executive of a bank, our space lends itself for that. And you get to taste proudly Ugandan coffee. And I say proudly Ugandan coffee, we're not just focusing on specialty coffee, which so many coffee shops are focusing on, but we're keeping it real. We keep it so real. And I love being in that space, because we've even had farmers who come all the way to our coffee shop and say, I've never had a cup of coffee. Will you brew for me my first cup of coffee? And we celebrate that. So for me, this is what gets me going in the morning, okay, every African drinking African coffee.